We'll tell you if Jimmy G is the 49ers' biggest problem. And an hour from now, we'll have the most fearless discussion in sports. One Hall of Fame quarterback says Lamar Jackson needs to change his approach. We'll tell you if he's got a point. But we start with Monday Night Football. All right, Russell Wilson is the NFL's version of James Bond. Feels like every week he puts out a new action-adventure movie. Dr. Yes, From Seattle with Love, The Man with the Golden Arm. Last night in San Francisco versus the league's best defense, Russ starred in Die Another Day. You remember Die Another Day. Halle Berry was in it. Pierce Brosnan played 007. Bond was captured and tortured for 14 months by the North Koreans. 49ers defense captured and tortured Wilson throughout regulation and well into overtime. Halfway through overtime, the 49ers intercepted Wilson, drove down to the Seattle 30, and set up for a would-be game-winning field goal with 3 minutes left. Of course, the 49ers shanked the field goal. Somehow, the game featured 3 more possessions, with Wilson getting the ball last, and of course, he drove the Seahawks to the game-winning field goal as the clock expired. Seattle 27, San Francisco 24. Wilson slayed the last remaining undefeated team in the game with as many plot twists as you would expect in a Bond thriller.
That was the craziest game I've ever been a part of. I mean, talking about a Monday Night Football game, it felt like NFC Championship game right there. Just back and forth, 2 great teams going after it. We knew it was going to come down to the wire. I said it earlier in the week, I thought it was going to come down the wire. Didn't think it was going to come down to overtime, no more time on the clock kind of wire, but that's just a true amazing moment, wildest game, most amazing game I've been a part of for sure.
All right, you might argue that defensive end Jadeveon Clowney was the true hero of last night's Bond movie. He certainly was the best player on the field. No way Seattle wins that game without Clowney's exploits. The 49ers jumped out to a 10-0 lead and seemed to be well on their way to a blowout victory when Clowney scooped up a Jimmy Garoppolo fumble and ran it into the end zone. That play changed the game. Later, Clowney recorded a strip sack that set Seattle up for another score. Clowney abused San Francisco's offensive tackles and spent most of the night in the backfield disrupting Jimmy G's rhythm. It was Clowney's best performance as an NFL player. Last night, Clowney justified Seattle's decision to trade for him. But Clowney's a supporting actor. He's Joe Pesci. He's going to steal some scenes. You're going to remember his character in every movie he's in. But Russell Wilson is Sean Connery. Russ is a leading man. He faced the best defense in the NFL and found a way to deliver points when it mattered most. Was this Wilson's best Bond movie? No. This wasn't Goldfinger or Skyfall. Die Another Day ranks toward the bottom of Bond movies. But Wilson's performance did nothing to damage his MVP candidacy. Russ remains the front runner. More important, last night's game establishes the Seahawks as a legitimate Super Bowl threat out of the NFC. They're not going to finish with the best record in the NFC. That's fine. But if Clowney's going to perform at an all-pro level the rest of the way, the Seahawks will be the most dangerous team in the postseason. Clowney was the weapon Russ needed to secure to make the Seahawks the best team in the NFC. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analyst LeVar Arrington and college football analyst Reggie Bush. Marcellus, I'll start with you. Think the Seahawks are the best team in the NFC?
No, I don't think that they are. I don't think the game plan was for supposedly the best team in the NFC to go out there and hope that a backup field goal kicker misses a game winner. That's not the game plan, and that's what occurred. They beat a team that was undefeated, that didn't look undefeated, in part because of injuries. But if you look at it, I just think this year is a wide tier 1. Like, let's just be respectful of the situation. When you talk about that tier 1, obviously these 2 teams are in there, but the Vikings, if I had to put some money on a team and just say, what's for that team? The Vikings, interesting with that ground game especially. We know that the Cowboys, the Packers deserve to be in there, the Saints as well, because they all have owned real estate in terms of what's the best team this year in the NFC. So if you just respect that wide a boundary of teams, they're up there, but I don't say that they're the best.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't know if they're the best team, and I think right now it's still anybody's game in the NFC. Like you just mentioned, a bunch of teams. But we're going to learn a lot about this 49ers team very soon because they still got to go on the road to the Ravens, Saints, Seahawks. Those 3 can be losses right there. And so we're going to learn a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo and about this 49ers team. Yes, they did lose the game to a divisional
Stick to Seattle. We're going to talk about 49ers next segment.
So then Seattle, yes, I don't believe that they're the best team as of right now. I believe it's still kind of wide open for a lot of
Seattle
reasons you just said.
got here. They're 8-2 now. They got to 7-2 without Clowney being Clowney.
Yeah.
That's the first time I think we saw the number 1 overall pick look like, wow.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have to play like, but if he's a consistent factor, you don't think this elevates Seattle more than what you had going into this game?
I think it definitely elevates them, but to say right now that they are the best team in NFC, I'm not ready to say that yet. I do believe Russ is the MVP right now.
About to get to that.
Oh, whoa.
We got a lot of
Reggie.
Damn, I can't talk about
Reggie just got here.
Seattle, no, I don't think they're the best team in the NFC, and I think it's based upon their defense. Even though Jadeveon had a great showing last night and was happy.
Their defense just clowned a hell of an offense that got both their offensive tackles back.
But with that being said, again, and I'll use your own words, when you're going up against a Drew Brees or when you end up going against an Aaron Rodgers, you go up against that upper echelon's higher tier quarterback, it's hard to think that Garoppolo may be able to keep up with what's going on out there. Or excuse me, Russ. And Seattle and with that defense would be able to keep up. I think Russ did what he needed to do, but you got a key injury to Tyler Lockett right now.
He's going to be fine.
There's not. I just don't have.
they've already said
I just don't have a tremendous trust for the defense or for the offense at that to be able to maintain a high enough level of.
You're not sold on
execution.
Clown.
I'm not sold on the Seattle Seahawks team.
I'm not sold on that Clowney being that guy every single game. As you said, that was the best Clowney you've seen this year. Maybe ever. Right.
Yeah.
So you can't bank on just that. And look, they were going against a team without their favorite target in Kittle. They lost Sanders in the first half. Like, Jimmy G looked like a guy who was like, I don't have my targets. Yeah. So that helped them.
Injuries happen, right? The injuries are part of this game. And the one thing I do believe in with the Seattle Seahawks is I believe in Russell Wilson, because week in and week out, who is doing it better than him? Who is constantly putting their team in positions to win? It don't matter if it's 21-point deficit, 14-7, fourth quarter overtime. He is always going to find a way to get his team back into winning position.
Yeah. Well, I won't disagree.
Why are you making that face?
I won't disagree
until you
with
throw
that.
a pick and then the game should be over, bro.
He's the second pick of the year, and we got to make a big deal out of it.
The biggest moment
First
in the
of all,
game.
y'all yelling making it a bigger deal out of it than me. I'm just saying, if Russell Wilson had it his way, that game was over and they lose. But they didn't. So respect for him putting him in. Look,
What about the poor clock management by San Fran at the end of the game, not to run the ball at least one time?
I think that goes to the point of what Marcellus is making right now. I think the San Francisco 49ers played their way out of winning that game.
Right.
Versus Russell
Is that
and the Seahawks
Seattle's
winning
fault,
that game.
No, you
Seattle
take
did what they're supposed
But he
to
threw an
do.
interception at the biggest point in the game.
The
biggest point in time.
I get it. But why are y'all acting like Clowney had nothing to do with the horrible performance by the San Francisco offense? If y'all defensive players, if you're in the backfield that much disrupting the quarterback, that's what's going to happen. That's on Clowney.
But respect to a defensive lineman looking like that. But the best offensive lineman out there is the quarterback delivering the ball. If the quarterback is comfortable with the targets, if those are his top 2 targets that are still on that field, you may not be getting to the quarterback, Jadeveon Clowney. And that's what I'm factoring in a rematch and seeing this team down the line when it matters even more. You're probably going to see those top 2 targets with a Garoppolo who had his best game last week against Arizona. So let's not act like Garoppolo just fell off a cliff. He realized quickly in this game, after having a 10-0 lead, I don't have the same guys out there and things change.
Clowney beat up on some really good lines.
Oh yeah. That
Joe
came back
Staley,
healthy.
Hall of Famer, he ran right over him.
Seattle's secondary played well. Seattle's second level has Bobby Wagner, probably the best middle linebacker in football.
Yeah.
I like Seattle a lot. let's go to where Reggie wants us to go.
Ready to go? You ready to go, Reggie?
And I'm gonna come. We've already heard from Reggie.
I'm just saying.
Russell Wilson, did he do enough to remain the front runner in the MVP?
Boy, these loaded questions. What do you mean remain?
Everybody but you has him as the front runner.
I don't have it.
Every gambling site, everybody has.
Oh, yeah.
Did you not listen to the announcers that kept saying he's the MVP?
Good Lord, did I kept. If I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm throwing everything at the TV. Can y'all remember who I am? No. Russell Wilson, as a matter of fact, if you had him as your leader, you certainly have to question that or put him behind. Your leader, in 4 quarters of football, your MVP had 155 yards. I'm just going to let you know that.
Wait, so who are you saying is MVP?
In 5 quarters of football, he barely topped 200 yards and threw a critical interception that should have been a game-losing interception.
1 of 2 all season.
I don't give a damn. I'm just saying he threw it then. And then if you think about what Russell Wilson did against this defense, everybody gonna say it's the defense. Do y'all remember Kyler Murray having a perfect second half against this team and putting up 195 pass yards in 2 quarters where it took Russell 4 quarters to do less? I'm just letting you know, if we're going to start splitting hairs and doing this value comparison, it's still Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson has electrifying moments. And I'm going to give you that third down and Russell scrambled for 21 yards in molasses. And Lamar Jackson ran, here it is. Look at that. Look at that compared toLamar Jackson when
He's trying to win the game.
All I'm trying to say, and look at the difference. Just look at this.
Just looks a little different.
First of all,
we're trying to say who the MVP is.
Ain't nobody here trying to compare the athleticism of Russell Wilson.
Those are winning
and
moments,
Lamar
though.
Jackson.
Winning moments.
You can't compare that. You can't compare him to nobody else in this league right now.
That's why he's MVP.
But,
I agree.
We're talking about Mr. Steady Eddie, who's always going to have his team in position. I don't care who it is. It's Russell Wilson.
Except at the end of that game.
Did they win the game?
He left the field thinking, oh, man, I done gave this.
Did they win the game, though?
I hope Herm Edwards isn't watching. I hope he's on the practice field because clearly, Marcellus, you play to win the game. That's what it's all about. The scoreboard. You play
Lamar
to
didn't win. Did Lamar win? It's Herm.
He just beat the undefeated team with the best defense.
So did Lamar. Lamar beat the Patriots with a better defense.
And to that point,
he beat this team.
Head to head.
Head to head. Keep going, Herm and Jason Whitlock. Keep telling me about football.
He beat Russ head to head. And he was the catalyst of why they won. They are a field goal away from losing that game. A field goal away. You can't. He did nothing to distance himself from the competition.
I think it's neck and neck. I wouldn't say he's like a shoe-in.
Well, here's the thing. They're neck and neck, and he's 1 game ahead of Lamar. Lamar has a signature opportunity this weekend against your Texans and with Deshaun Watson. So
every week is going to be a signature week.
I have not seen Lamar Jackson disappoint yet one time. I would be interested to see how well he plays on Sunday because depending on that, I think dictates this whole conversation.
I'm just trying to figure, and y'all can say Lamar. No problem. That's a
oh, really?
That's a understandable argument.
Yes.
I'm not disagreeing with that argument.
I hope. Thank you.
But the man beat the San Francisco 49ers, and somehow it's a negative.
I don't think it's a negative.
The Patriots and Seahawks are on Lamar's mantle right now in terms of defeats and
No, you're dodging the
He was
question.
not the catalyst.
What was the reason they won last night? The defense. They scored a touchdown. Clowney with the strip sack.
Yes.
What else we had? Garoppolo fumbles. The kickers.
He did well. He did it well at moments.
Well, Lamar Jackson played the worst team in the NFL.
And he was perfect against them both times. That's 2 perfect
But this
games.
was an opportunity.
They do what they supposed to.
I just don't
This was an
how it's a
opportunity for
negative
Russ.
against Russ.
It's not. The only negative that you could pull from this is that Russ's performance. Do you realize 3 quarters into this game, he did not have more passing yards than Garoppolo? 3 quarters into the game.
You do realize it's a 4-quarter game.
No, it was 5 quarters.
You
It was 5 quarters.
This one was 5.
Do you realize that on all scorecards, George Foreman was ahead of Muhammad Ali and Zaire?
Yes.
Yeah,
But the
you
difference
played the
between
whole
George
60.
Foreman and Muhammad Ali is that's man-to-man. That's a mano-to-mano. There were other factors involved as to why the Seattle Seahawks team won, and Russell Wilson was not the catalyst for why this team won.
And it's okay to grade him.
He was not the
No, he
catalyst.
wasn't the reason. And it's okay okay to grade him
was not.
against
What?
I'm
himself?
sorry, he was not.
So who was throwing the football? Who was making them?
What do you mean throwing the
first
football,
downs?
Reggie? He had 155 yards when the game was over until they went to the overtime.
Okay, Lamar Jackson has
defensive
had games
touchdown.
where he's thrown zero
defensive
touchdowns.
touchdown.
That's respect. And he also didn't have a game like that where
Three
one
games. He's thrown
touchdown.
zero touchdowns.
It's a 155, one touchdown performance before overtime, MVP caliber.
No.
Thank you. So what we're seeing right now is we're going to judge him by his own expectations and by the MVP expectations. By those standards, he was less than. It's okay.
Okay, last thing.
I mean, you can't
There's
go wrong
one
with that.
quarterback this season that's had 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. His name's Russell Wilson.
Why you down all the time in the fourth quarter? My coach would say. I'm just saying.
This ain't college football, bro. This is the NFL.
Why we always down in the fourth
This
quarter?
ain't college football.
At the end of the show, find out our approval rating for Russell Wilson and Uncle Jimmy's take on the Seahawks quarterback.
Look at
At the top of the hour,
MVP.
we'll have the most fearless discussion in sports. We'll tell you if Lamar Jackson needs to be more like Deshaun Watson. But first, Jimmy G just struggled his way through the 49ers' first loss. We'll tell you if he's becoming a real problem. Speak for yourself. It's presented by Hyundai.